Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pub Table Racers. Tonight, show number 45, which carries big significance, which we'll get to in a minute. My name is Tim Packman. Sitting next to me is
Warren Brosell.
And the guy in the middle we're going to get to in a minute. Not that he needs much of an introduction, we're going to do that. Tonight's show, well, wait a minute. Warren, we have a visitor in our bucket tonight.
We do.
And we'll explain that in a minute as well. Why do we drink Miller High Life on our show?
Well, we drink Miller High Life because of our good friend Bobby Allison.
That's right.
We're thirsty.
And it's tasty.
And it's tasty, and this is what we do. This is
It
our
goes
show.
down smooth. And it's good for you.
Right? It's good for
something. That's it. All right, so cheers.
Cheers.
Here we go. I'm just going to jump in here because tonight's show, we're going to talk to the guy sitting between us. And we have a special announcement coming up later. You definitely want to stay around for that. And we're going to talk about his book and cruise and some other cool stuff we have going on. Warren, I don't even know where to start here. I'm just going to do it.
Well, it's 45 show.
Right?
He had number 45.
Still does, number 45.
For a long time.
Right.
So this is...
Big significance.
It works out well.
It's like Kismet.
Maybe you should introduce who...
I'm trying. Yeah.
I wouldn't let you do that because that's your job. My job is to drink this beer.
Well, that's my job I forgot to do. First one of the day. Don't say anything. Go Bills. This is going to be interesting. Oh my gosh.
2-1-1.
We're already at 50 people. Okay. I'm going to start to introduce this guy. In addition to being a great friend for 20 years, to me personally, and Warren's known him for longer because they're both from Wisconsin.
Right.
We're just going to go through a quick list. Only 5-time winner of the Snowball Derby, 4-time winner of the Slinger Nationals, multiple track championships, big wins all around, 3-time Camping World Truck Series winner. He drove for NASCAR Hall of Famers Richard Petty and Darrell Waltrip. He has experience in the Cup, Xfinity, and the Truck Series. And he's still running super late models up in Wisconsin. He's still kicking ass up there, showing his kids how it's done. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our awesome privilege to bring you Rich Bickle. There you go.
How's it going, everybody?
Rich, thank you so much for being on. We appreciate you. Rich was in town. He called me today and said, hey, I'll be in town Tuesday night. I'm like, ooh. So we got to have you on the show.
I drove 12 and a half hours just to be here for you.
Wow, thank you so much there. So
I was so excited last night I couldn't sleep. So
see how popular we're becoming. There, people are driving 12 and a half hours now.
We're
when you said this is show 45, it was meant to be.
We got to pack the truck. We got to go. First of all, how you doing? Tell people kind of what you've been up to the last a couple of years. You have some business ventures and everything.
Just still racing and doing stuff with Tony at T1, and got a couple bars and got a land development company, and just kind of getting to wind down. So you talk about the number 45. So this is a great story. So my dad was number 5 or 15 his whole life.
Right.
So I showed up to Jefferson Speedway in 1978 with my own car. And I was going to be number 15, and Richard Lofi signed in 7 names before me with number 15.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Rodiger, the flagman, says, well, you can make that 1 into a 4 and 1 into a 4 really easy. So people have asked me that question, I always come up with 45, and that's how it happened. So it's kind of funny how
you got your number.
1978 years, 1978 you get this number, and I was going to be 5 or 15 like my dad, and I'm glad I wasn't 5 because, all the Souders were 5 and all that stuff, but, it's kind of funny I was going to be 15, but that's 45. So that means I would have had to retire 30 years ago, because that's the plan, 45 for 35 years.
So you're still running the short tracks up there, still having wins and top 5 and top 10s. We talked before the show, bad luck has been your nemesis this year. Well,
you look back at times and you go, I can remember why I couldn't lose a race. Now it's like we have one of the best. I mean, at the Slinger Nationals last year, I had the best car I probably ever had there in my entire life. I was probably 4/10 fast in the field, and the solenoids shorted out, and it drained the battery deck. The starter was running. But it is what it is. You have great days and bad days, and I haven't cried in a long time. That night at Slinger, I was sitting in the car. I bought one in the car because that was tough on the swallow. Because it started 20th, drove to 5th in 30 laps, and it wasn't on the same zip code. But it is what it is, and I give the race lacrosse away, I think, and because I picked the wrong line to get in. But we've been good, Maybe I saved all the bad luck and got rid of it last year for this year for my final season, and we'll see. I think we got some really good cars. Tony and the guys have done a great job, and we're ready to go.
Perfect.
So I'll bring this up real quick.
Sure.
How many laps do you think you have at Slinger? Just guess. Just throw a couple thousand, 3,000, 4,000, 10,000.
Well, you got to remember. I mean, I was gone for 15 years, but I went back and raced there a lot.
Right.
But yeah, probably, Jesus, at least 7,000, 8,000.
Okay, so what I want to get to that is my point there is it when you get there at a place like that, I'll say it's one of your home tracks. Is it
My
like
house.
is it like driving? Is it like backing out of the driveway? You know what I mean? You know what you got to do there, and I mean I'm sure the track has changed, or because
It's just gotten older. The pavements, wore out, but
Right.
it hasn't really changed.
But you know where you have to be. You know how you have to drive it. You know where you have to lift. You know where you have to gas. I mean, so a lot of people don't understand sometimes when we talk about our end of it in NASCAR about no testing, and how one of these young kids comes in and he can't keep up. Well, if you look at some of our guys like Harvick, they have so many more laps at a lot of these racetracks than they do, and they're not going to be like the old,
Old guard.
the old, the old dog, the old wily old veteran. But yeah, I'm sure that Slinger to you is like putting on a nice worn-in pair of shoes, right?
Well, I probably can drive around the place blindfolded.
Yeah, there you go.
And you tell people that, and they look at you like, yeah, right. Well, I know I could go around the racetrack. If I made 5 laps there and put a blindfold on, I could go out and make a lap without wrecking the race car.
Okay.
And I would be within half a second of with not seeing. Because you know it. You feel the racetrack. You know exactly where you're at. You know what you do. You know when to turn. You have that same drive. That same feeling. And,
Right.
and
That's a great analogy. I love that. I love him saying that. That's cool.
but people don't realize I've raced at 225 racetracks. I don't think anybody in the country has done that.
225, and that's counting short, NASCAR, everything.
But
Good Lord.
now you look at Atlanta, Homestead, all the different configurations. Lake Geneva, I always count them as Homestead had 3 different configurations.
Yeah.
Right,
So
that's true.
Homestead, Lake Geneva had 2, Atlanta had 2, a place of, so I count that as different places.
Sure.
But, most people won't race 5 racetracks their whole life.
Right.
And I'm counting, everything that I've done. I had 1 dirt track race. That's all I've ever did on dirt.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Can you say where? Was it Capital?
Oh, Luxembourg. No.
Okay.
Didn't they put dirt on Capital for a
Yeah.
little while?
It was called Impact Speedway for 2 years, and it didn't last very long.
Yeah, that was a
But,
bad.
I had an IMC grudge match race against Scott Hansen in Luxembourg in 1980 something. So
Okay.
Yahtzee!
Oops, I got it.
Mazel, no more beer for Tim. Mazel tov.
Okay.
That one will be half price, folks.
Sorry about that. Dang, damn it. Anyhow, I figured cut. Before we get into how you got
It's a
started,
little exciting.
it's fine. I just caught the edge. This show is brought to you by Lake Norman Patio and Game Rooms. Got to take care of the sponsors here.
Got to.
Go see Brad and JoJo out there on Brawley School Road. The game room downstairs is amazing. You're done with your Christmas toys. Like, this stuff sucks. I want to do something new.
Right.
Pool tables. What else does he have downstairs?
Air hockey,
Yep.
your bubble hockey,
Bubble hockey, foosball.
foosball,
And the,
shuffleboard.
Right.
Pac-Man.
He
Tim
had
Gatman?
he had that. He sold that game. He did have the video game.
Let's
The
get it
first
for
one
you.
I ever played,
That's it.
probably the last one I ever played.
He'll
And-
get it for you.
And also,
Pinball.
Oh yeah, I can get my hands on one of those. Upstairs, there's all kinds of great outdoor furniture. So go check him. The Garage Shop, Aaron Brown, our buddy out there. Salt flat cars. What else is he involved with? Restoring
Restoring old
race cars.
old race cars, some old Daytona Superbirds to go to the Salt Flats.
Old Salt Flat.
And he just did a lot of cool
Go
stuff.
check out the Garage Shop 200.com. And also our newest one. This is where your part goes. Our friends at RacingJunk.com. If there's somebody looking to buy or sell that has wheels or involves wheels or apparel, everything like that, go to RacingJunk.com. They signed up with us a couple weeks ago, and they've been pretty good to have on
Right.
board. So they are the world's #1 racing and performance classified ad place. So go see them, and they've been good. And anything and everything they have it all.
All your street,
And if you want to even buy a race car, or they can do that too.
they'll do
Oh,
something.
nice. Okay, big wreck, the joint. Geez, okay. Okay, never mind. Now I'm getting a lot of crap for one little rack. That's all. Fine. All right, let's go. Interested in racing. What started it for you?
My dad raced for 33 years,
Mhm.
and I was born at the racetrack. My mom said I was on her hip I was a month old, and I grew up there. I mean, I remember being a kid standing at the fence when somebody would win the race, and I always stood there and watched them get their picture taken. They'd come out back in the day and come on the right side of the car and get the trophy, and the trophy queen, they'd kiss them. And I just thought, geez, that's so cool. So go a few years later, I ended up being a national roller skating champion in
that's
1972
right, yeah.
and 73, and I won probably 200 of these little bitty trophies, from this size to this
Right.
size. And we lived in a small house, and
Right.
my dad had a bunch of trophies, and I had nowhere to put them. So as a kid, I remembered that, God, I remember as a kid standing at the fence wishing I could have one of them trophies.
Right.
So that's where my trophy thing come about. I've given away probably 450 trophies to kids at the fence.
Nice.
And, it keeps coming back for more.
So do you have any trophies you kept from any? You
I
got
probably have
good-
25.
Okay, that's not
And
bad.
I'm going to do some really cool stuff this year with the fans.
Uh-huh.
And it's being my last year. I'm going to do some really neat stuff. Talk to Greg McCarnes for the tour races and
Which tour is that?
Arc Midwest Tour.
Okay, got it.
And I'm going to start maybe auction off some of my old suits and helmets and trophies and put a little bit towards
Right.
my mom's breast cancer fund.
That's good.
And that's the plan.
Very good.
Because I have no reason to take it with me when I'm going to Costa Rica. So
That's the game plan.
that's it.
End up down there. He showed me a picture of a house. Beautiful house in Costa Rica. And I said, where's my room? He goes, pick one of these three over there. I'm like, yes, that's all I need to know. And I promise I won't break your stuff and,
Knock stuff
knock
off
stuff
the
off the table like I did tonight. So when did you first get on an oval track?
Well, like it's my book, 1976.
Mm-hmm.
Augie Picaro took off from his family and 3 sons with another woman to Colorado, and then me and his oldest son went up to the barn and stole his car out of the garage, and we brought it down to his house into their yard. We hand painted a driveway,
Nice.
and we took off and went to Jefferson with it, and I made about maybe 5-6 laps of practice and qualifying.
Right.
I led the first 6 laps of the race, and another kid my dad raced with, his son,
Yep.
got off at turn 2 and hit me in the door and knocked me off the backstretch of a wall, or backstretch at Jefferson before they had a wall. And the car augered in and it broke the roll cage off, blew the transmission out of it. So that car maybe had 15 laps in it total. And when my mom passed away, when John did the book, we went through all the stuff, and she had a picture of that car, which I never even. And so it's kind of ironic. So you look at that, and then 17 years later, I'm in the inaugural Brickyard 400.
Right.
So it's kind of kind of a crazy story,
Yeah.
but it is
Right.
what it is.
Yeah, it's kind of how our lives go. And people don't. I'll say younger fans don't get it, but anybody who's been doing this for a while, there's always a story that turns your life around.
Mhm.
There's always something that has made you want to do this
Right.
forever. It's not just money, or it's not
Right.
just fame. It's always just it's how good you were that day. And you said, like you said, you were leading,
Yeah.
and that probably like I can do this, right?
First time I drove a lap,
Right.
Yeah.
in a car, racing.
Race car. Yeah, race car. So from there, you just kind of kept growing and super late models, and
Yeah, it just started from there. A guy owned a Newville gas station, had another car. I drove that car a few races, and then my dad finally realized that I was, serious about it.
Mhm.
So we went to Wyacina Junkyard and bought a 72 Ford Trainer for $300, and went to shop and started. We got it done at mid-season. I was the one to heat race in the semi, and
You're a very young man at this time.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
15.
and now 15 is like. Back then was like, oh my God, 15.
Right.
But I was 6'5" and I had a lot of hair, and my
Yeah,
dad was
you look like
multi-time
20.
track champion, and
Right.
nobody even asked me for a driver's license.
Or an ID
no,
afterwards.
I could go right to the beer stand and get beer.
Right. I mean, you're from Wisconsin. I know what's going on here.
I was like, that Bickle's kid. Just
So,
Well, I'll take.
It's just ironic how it progressed.
Right.
And one of the coolest stories I did was in 1982. I got my first super late model that was a bought chassis. And we went there and did a bunch of stuff. I didn't have any money, but I borrowed $5,000 from the bank and somehow paid him back. And so in '83, I told Wayne Erickson, I said, next year I'm going to be your track champion at the banquet. And he kind of laughed at me. And so I went there the first week and had a fast time and won the feature. And he hired Joe Shear to come out run me. And
Why do I know that name, Wayne Erickson? What track are we talking?
Slinger.
Yeah, okay.
So on a track champion at Slinger. Now, nobody's ever heard of that back in the day back then. I mean, he paid Joe Shear to come out run me because he didn't want me to be the track champion. So, make a long story short, I won the championship, and I asked him how much the point check was, and he said like $3,900. So on the way to the banquet, I went to Bailing's Circle Track shop and spent $3,895 on parts to the banquet, and the check was for $2,700.
Oops.
And I'm like, Wayne, I just called you like 4 hours ago.
Yeah.
And he said, you're the worst track champion I could ever have. And he made a 22-year-old kid that outrun one of the greatest in the history ever drove a race car to win. And it made me feel terrible. So in 2015, when I got inducted to the Hall of Fame, and I told this story.
Which Hall of Fame was it? The
Wisconsin Short Track Hall of Fame.
Okay.
And I was telling the story, and Wayne sat in the crowd, and I said, but Wayne, it's okay. 7 years later, you're paying me $10,000 to show up every night. So, it was great.
Nice.
And I'm telling you what, that was in 2015. This is the first year he pulled into the racetrack at Slinger, and he talked me in 5 years. He was that mad at me for saying almost 30 years to pay him back.
Right. He started it.
Well, you know, but I mean, we've always been good friends. I remember when he opened Capitol up after the dirt.
Yep.
He paved it and put new pavement on. He paid me to come up there. I had fast time. I passed Tony Strupp off at turn 4, coming for the checker, won the race. There was like 18,000 people there. What he said, he goes, Bickle, leaving job tonight just on beer safety. They sold 13 semi-loads of beer that night. And
To repave Capitol.
A half mile.
Yeah.
It was $120,000 to pave it back then. So, you know, I love Wayne to death. He was a great promoter, but we had a rough start, but we had a good finish.
Speaking of 18,000 people, not quite there yet. I want to get your take on this. The reaction we had, we announced you coming on.
It's a good deal.
I haven't been to Mooresville in 50. Wow, you know, and to have the reaction is kind of cool because the people that did, you know, ever come to the racetrack and hang out, I mean, they know I tell it the way it is.
Right.
You know, it's either right or wrong, and it's great. You know, I'm glad for you guys, and this is cool. I get to watch it on Tuesday night sitting at home, and but it's just
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
You know,
So we're gonna cheers.
just-
We're gonna cheers that.
Yeah.
You gotta join us.
well, this is your
No, you're the one that's making the whole thing off this. So this is.
I'll cheers anything.
This shows me that we just broke 100 people. I mean, we've had some pretty cool people in here, but the following that you still have,
Pretty awesome.
both down here and both up, you know, in your Wisconsin.
Well, I mean, you look back at it. I mean, I tell people, I said, I grew up in Wisconsin against the toughest race car drivers in the world.
Yep.
And the greatest short track asphalt guys in the United States at that time, 40 of them lived there. And everybody likes, like, you know, oh, what are you talking about? I said, well, yeah, I know you had your Blues and your Ridleys and all that from down south and this and that. I said, but one of the greatest stories ever was Mike Chase in 1983 come to Wisconsin to race. He ran 4 nights a week. And in 81 and 82, or no, 80 and 81, Jim Bach, Refner, and Larry Deeds won out west, and they won everything. So in 83, he said, and he come and ran 4 nights a week. He never made a feature till mid-season in Madison. He finished 17th. That's the first feature he made. He ran 4 nights a week. And we talked about that when he helped. We had a Bush deal together. He worked for us.
Right.
And he goes, I knew Trick was still back there, and Joe Shear, he said, when I got there were 40 more, you sons of bitches. that nobody's heard of.
Oh yeah, right.
You know?
And they're outrunning.
And it was like, he's like, cool. And that's something you'll never forget. And I've told everybody, I said, hey man, you know, to win 400 plus races against the greatest there was, you know, it's,
Right.
you know, you just, it's hard to imagine.
So we got a comment. Richard Coleman. He says, Rich Bickle, by far one of the most respectable and kindest, had the pleasure of competing.
Wow.
There you go.
There'll be some that probably tell you wrong.
So, okay, I got a little comment here, and because I'm from Wisconsin,
Right.
and I know how most of our racers have been through the years. We're not going to knock you out of the way to win. We're going to pass you clean most of the time. If you knock us, we're going to knock you.
Right.
But I'm going to say I hope you get that compliment from other drivers that we don't have to. We're going to pass you.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be faster than
Right.
you. We're going to pass you. We're going to get underneath you. We're going to go around you. And because that's Matt did it for a lot of years.
Absolutely.
I know you did it when you were here. Saunders did it for a little while.
Right, yeah.
So Johnny's a little bit. Them guys are a little bit.
Johnny likes rub a little bit.
Yeah, but
And me and him are neighbors. It's really cool. We're buddies.
But you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, right?
Yeah.
And that's one thing I always like, that compliment of how, the cleanliness of,
Right.
of the driving skill of the people that
Sure.
come from the Wisconsin short track.
Well, it's like anything else. You have a lot of people back in the day that were, they raced because they raced 4 and 5 nights a week. You didn't have enough time to work on your car because when you got in a race and you drank beer, and then when you left the racetrack you went to the bar and drank beer, and after the bar they kicked you out, you went to the parking lot and
Right.
drank beer. So
Yep.
you didn't have time to work on the car.
Right.
So you didn't want to tear yourself, and nobody had money. So everybody would taught you how running into everybody.
Right.
Nowadays it doesn't matter because everybody wrecks everybody and they drive through you and it's because daddy pays the bill. But it's a different world.
And they don't have to fix the car.
Yeah.
No, and
fix
then
the car.
well, first they don't know how to fix the car.
Right.
They just have daddy's money pay for it and they go fix it. But it's amazing. One of the greatest stories, my greatest races ever was 1985 at Oregon. Joe Shear was on my tail for 90 laps of the 100. And he was underneath me and underneath me and underneath me. And I would probably say it's one of the first times he never actually rubbed me really good. Because he never did rub you, but he had many chances. And I beat him that day in a 100 lapper Madison end of the year deal.
Fair and square.
And he gave it everything he got. But them guys made you drivers. They made you learn. And when before you even got in the car, you could ask them questions. They'd tell you how to make your car better.
Right.
And Trickle was the greatest there ever was with it. Because he always said, if you ask me, I'll tell you, because if you get faster, it makes me have to be faster.
Right.
And people don't, nowadays it's all money.
Bring up Trickle real quick because I got a question for you. Have you ever been trickled? And what I'll say about that is I'm in Oswego, New York, with an ASA team, and Alan Quicky's in the bar, Dick Trickle's in the bar, myself is in the bar, Fennings, Mark Martin, and I watched Trickle dump beers out, because Alan's going to drink beer for beer with him.
Right.
Alan?
Alan Quick.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this was bad.
That's not a good story.
And Trickle decides that his PBRs, some of them were going on the floor.
Right.
He never drank a lot of beer.
Dick,
Never.
not as much as everybody thought.
Oh,
Everybody
right.
thought he was a big beer drinker.
No.
He would nurse it for hours.
Yes. So and Alan's I'm ready for another one, and Alan's like, what? And
Right.
Trickle's dumping them out. He's not finishing them. He's either dumping in the sink or
Yeah.
he's getting rid of them, and Alan's getting another beer. I got Alan completely killed. I like to say he got trickled, right?
Right.
I can't even imagine Alan Quick drinking beer. I can't even visualize.
Why
it.
he was thinking that?
Because he was not even that type of racer. He
No,
wasn't that kind of guy.
no.
He was he was like the engineer guy that didn't even think about that. But you're talking about being trickled.
I think Trickle coaxed him into doing it.
Well,
Yeah.
Dick,
You know how Dick, yeah.
he could talk your ear off and talk you about into anything. But one of my greatest trickle stories is we're at Leo's Upper Dells in Linda Station, and I'm on the other side of the pool table, and after the races, this is afternoon race at Dells, and it's still, and I'm standing there, and he walked up behind me and pulled my shorts off. I'm standing there talking, there's a little bunch of little chairs sitting there, this girl's standing there, I'm standing up, and So
Right.
Dick is embarrassed really bad, and I'm standing there going, I pull him up, and the whole place kind of went, oh, and I just kind of kept drinking beer and talking,
Right.
And everybody else was kind of like in shock, and Dick was so embarrassed.
He did that to you.
He was just like,
Because you didn't have any underwear.
I didn't have underwear. Just,
He didn't know that.
He didn't know.
Summertime.
Commando.
Well, I've never wore underwear.
That's just some people.
It's a Wisconsin thing for me.
Yeah.
But anyway,
There you go.
but that's one of the greatest trickle stories that people don't have no idea about. Besides 1985, I walked up to him and I said, "How about this and this and this and this?" And he's like, "Kid," he said, "You've been running pretty good lately." He said, "You passed the Dick Trickle school race."
Nice.
And I'm like going,
That made you feel good.
Wow.
God
Yeah.
told me
Bless
those
you.
words.
Yes.
Well, bless
Whenever
you.
Dick,
Oh my
whenever that man gave you a compliment,
Yeah.
you just yeah, yes, you said yes sir, thank you, and just smiled and walked away.
But the best part is, I won that night.
Yeah. Good.
It was like
good.
Terry.
Some guy named Matt Schude, this is his 8th comment. Something about you ice racing in the winter?
Well, I grew up racing motorcycles on the ice, and I did that for, God, I would actually drive the motorcycle from my house in the ditches because we had sheet metal screws and tires.
Yeah,
I didn't have a vehicle, so it was like 5 miles to the race
Right.
to the place. But I would drive it through the ditch, so I wouldn't hurt the screws and the tires, and I'd race every weekend until I got old enough and I had a '72 Ranchero, and I would put it in the back and go there. But the coolest ice race story for me was the last year they raced. They closed this deal down. It raced for 33 years. So they said you can run any class you want. You can move up a class. If you're in the 125, you can go to the 250s, and I had 250, so I went in the open class.
Right.
Well, Kenny Kreider and some other guy in Milwaukee had Rokon flat track bikes, automatic transmissions, and back in the 70s, this was like, oh my God, these guys were God.
Big time.
Yeah.
I mean, they were flat track bikes.
Yeah.
I had an RM250. I turned the forks around,
Right.
straighten the wheelbase up, lower it down, and I'm like,
It was a
well,
dirt bike.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
motocross bike. That's all I did in the summertime. So everybody from my hometown was like, "Oh my God, you can't race these guys." I'm like, well, it's the last race. I want to race. Well, I don't know how, but I went out and I spanked their asses both races.
Right.
And the second race I pulled in, half Edgerton was standing on their knees going, "Oh my God."
Really? Because you did that.
I was God.
What lake was that? Was that on Freeze?
Rice Lake.
Rice Lake? Because
Yeah.
I did on Freeze like one time with my KX 250 when I was like 25. Like, I was terrible, but
Okay.
I had to do it because everybody
Well,
else
it
was
was,
doing
it
it.
was
That's what
so,
you did with your dirt bike
it
during
was
the
so,
winter.
it was so much fun. I mean, it just, 175 Honda, and I had a little 125s there fall up in the 50 class because I was such a big kid
Right.
that actually it fit me really well, and that was like one of the coolest days of racing in my whole life. But then I started racing snowmobiles when I went back home, but I don't know if he's talking about that.
It's okay. You talk about race. Now you're up in NASCAR. You're full time. What were some of your favorite tracks to run?
Oh boy.
Okay, here's what I got for you. What was your first time at Daytona? We can talk about Slinger. Now you're at Daytona. So your first time coming to Daytona?
Yeah, or Talladega, the biggest.
The biggest one.
First time I went to Daytona was in '76 and sat there and turned 4 and watched Pearson Petty wrap. I told my mom and dad I said, I'm a racer one day, and I bought that car from Earnhardt, and we went down there in '89 for the ARCA race, and me and Red Farmer and Tracy Leslie and a bunch of 2 other guys, I can't remember who was, I can't think the names right now. We went to turn 3 and we all wrecked, and I come out of the other side of it without a scratch, and they're all 4 wrecked, and we're only 5 cars that are fast.
Right.
And I coasted all the way through 3 and 4, and I'm coming in the pit entrance. The pit, coming out pit road, but I'm in the middle of the racetrack.
Right.
And Patty Moise drove all around the racetrack wide open.
Ugh.
She could have went on either side of me. Be wide open and destroyed the car.
Wow.
I mean, there was nobody else in the race. I mean, so to make that promise to my mom and dad to be able to go do that was really cool. And then go there the next year without an engine
So this was
is '89.
90.
Yeah, I drove 2 races in the end of '89 for Jim Doyle out of Wisconsin. We went to Atlanta and Charlotte, made the Cup race,
Right.
and we changed the body over. And we went down there, and we didn't have an engine. We left because Wagner, my man Carl Wagner,
Right.
did not have a motor for restrictor plates.
So you went in the
Yeah,
car
without
without a
engine.
motor.
And we went down there, and we went, And we got there, was no motors available. But Mike Fryer at Camorra, he said, well, I got a motor. He said, it's not very good. And it's like, oh, well, it's better than me trying to be Fred Flintstone.
Right.
And so we put it in, and I got in the 125s. And I mean, I had the car so free by myself that, I mean, I was hanging on. I got hooked up with Alan Quickie. So he picked me up 8 miles an hour. And you tell people 8 miles an hour, anything
Right.
at Daytona, 8 miles an hour ain't
Oh, that's
nothing.
big.
Well, let me tell you what. I mean, I'm sideways in the corner back in the bias place type days. I can look in the mirror and see the smoke run off the right rear. And he pulled me up through there, and he got me to 15th, and we made the Daytona 500.
Start out with my motor.
And a home-built car, basically.
Well, built car, yeah.
So, but the prior story of this was, Alan come to Slinger the year before, and he was in my way, and I told Alan, I said, this is my house now. Get the hell out of my way. So, this is amazing how life goes. So we make the first cup race at Charlotte.
Right.
And I make the race, because we're out in the garage area underneath the trailer,
Yeah.
working. And we made the race, they give us the garage. He parked me next to him.
Alan Quickie.
Alan Quickie.
Holy
And he wouldn't even acknowledge I was a human being. He wouldn't look at me. I'm going, well, guess what? I'm in his house. It went from the, Slinger
sure,
my
yeah,
house. No,
right.
it was good. But so anyway, he had, pulled me up in the drafting deal at Daytona, made the race. He come over to me, he goes, oh my God, you picked me up so much. He goes, we got to get here.
Right.
I'm like going, dude, I died like 3 laps ago because I could held my breath for so long. I don't know how I did not wreck.
Yeah.
He's like, well, let's get hooked up to 500. I said, it's impossible. We never did. But anyway, we finished, I think, like 19th in the
That's not bad.
500 with a home-built car, basically. And so end up being friends with him a little bit from that.
Right.
And when I moved down south, when I got the terminal trucking deal,
Right.
he come over and called me one day. He goes, hey, can you move some stuff for me? And I'm like, what do you mean? So I took my trailer over there, I moved some stuff for him, and blah, blah, blah. And that year, Gene bought a cup car, and I said, we're going to Wilkesboro. Can you give me a setup? Yep. I went up there, and the only car that didn't pass that day was Jeff Bodine.
Right.
He won the race. It was 400 laps at Wilkesboro, never had a yellow flag. I lapped myself from everybody like 4 times because our pit stops were 40 seconds instead of 20 back in the day.
I seen it at the test ring in Mesa, Arizona. We had just a piece of junk car go behind one of our primaries, and the primary went so fast the piece of junk could hardly keep up to him. And then when we swapped them, it was like the other way around.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
We're back, folks.
We're back. Sorry about that. No glitch in the Facebook system.
There was something went there. We're good.
Yep. So I want to bring something up real
hang
quick.
on, we got 6 people. Let's get it up to a couple more.
Bring it up to a couple more.
Okay, we're at 15. All right.
I'm going to bring something up. Rich was
Okay,
talking
that's
about
fine. Let's build it up,
about Alan
Right.
pulling him,
Yep.
and what happens with a good car and a bad car is that the bad car will make the good car look even better.
Right.
That's why if you watch some of the older Daytona 500s and even now, these drivers don't want to. You'll see drivers don't want to pair up with their teammates. They
Right.
want someone else, and that might be a car that's not quite as good as them. And the wake they're making a tiny wake, and then the bad car or the car that isn't quite as good will make a bigger wake. So then that makes them both go faster once they're hooked up. And we know that motor isn't a big deal there. When you're 2 and 2, when you're tandem, unless you're trying to pull him. If you would have been out front, it would have been bad.
Yeah.
He was pulling you.
spun me out.
Your RPM probably went up, and you probably seen stuff. You were probably like, "Whoa!"
I wasn't looking at tech. I was hanging on the steering wheel. You tell people you're sideways in the corner of Daytona 200 miles an hour, and they're like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I was for like 12 laps."
Okay.
It was crazy. Never forget it.
So these stories, some of these stories that Rich is telling is in his book, Barnyard to Brickyard, the Rich Bickle story, written by John Close and yourself. And I got the book. I laughed. I found out some stuff I didn't know. I've known the man 20 years. But I laughed a lot because he tells a story in a very unique way, and you didn't hold back. You told the truth about some things that people maybe not didn't want to hear about stuff, right?
Well, when you said I drove for Daryl, I really wasn't happy about that.
I understand, but it was a fact.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean,
Yeah.
if they read the book, they'll
Well, no, that's
they'll
fine.
know why.
Yeah, that's right, but it's a fact, and you did. But
There's still, I sent a bunch to Amazon. There's a few left there again. It was
They're on Amazon?
pretty much
Okay.
sold out.
Really?
But I have about 100 left at my shop, and if people want to read this, I mean, what's really cool about it is I've not had one person that read it and said they didn't love it.
It's
They
good.
say they started and they can't put it down, and it's like that means more than anything. You know, even though we only made 3,000 books, you know, we
all right.
sold them out,
It's
and
okay.
I mean, it's just. What's crazy about it, the book was almost gonna be 4 times the size. We had to cut it down because they only give you so many pages
Oh,
and
really?
pictures. Yeah,
Okay.
it was a lot bigger than that.
Right.
There's a lot of stories that I have that will be told this year, throughout the year,
Okay.
like kind of like the trickle story tonight.
Right.
Speaking of announcements, should we do it?
Yeah, it's about time.
It's about time. We're good. We got up 51 people. As of 9:47 this morning, I witnessed Rich Bickle sign a contract to run the ARCA race at Daytona with Mike Cheek and the Empire Racing Group. So all you fans that want to see Rich back at Daytona, February 13th, Saturday, Rich will be out at Daytona running the ARCA race. It's a deal that, how do we want to say? Marketing partners, inquiries are welcome. Get in touch with me. But how's that feel to be back to Daytona? Because first of all, tell people why you're doing it.
I was sitting on the couch for my birthday, and I said, God, I'd like to race Daytona one more time. And it's been
Yeah.
Daytona, Talladega, 2002, I guess.
Yep.
And just put it out there. And what's funny is I had actually 3 Cup car owners call me the next day. Well, I didn't have that kind of funding, so that
Right.
didn't happen.
Right.
But Mike Cheek, my old crew chief at Petty's, which is on the cover of my book, when I drove for Richard and
Right.
Cummings deal, somehow he's seen it. We got talking, and he said he's got a really good speedway
Yep.
ARCA program, and you know, we were only together for a year, and it ended up going away because of the motor program.
Mhm.
But you know, today was like when I sat with him. I haven't seen him forever, but just like going to the shop from 1996.
Right.
You know, and it was really cool. It was really neat to see that and feel it. And we're going to go down there. We're going to be up front. And like I said, in '89 I had the race one, I think, and we actually took that car home and fixed it ourselves. And I mean, I had to put a rear clip on it in the fuel cell and all that in the body, and I never done any aero. You know, I just
Right.
kind of looked at pictures I had, and we went back with that car to Talladega, and I finished second. I lost to Tracy Leslie by about 3 foot.
Right.
So I'd like to win a speedway race.
Right.
But the biggest race I'd like to win would be Milwaukee. If we get to run the tour race in Milwaukee this year, it's one place I have not won at. And I thought we had the race won there 2 years ago, and the left front tire cords pulled apart, and the thing vibrated really bad. And but to go to Daytona one more time, to go and do it, and to end my career, you know,
Right.
at least racing there one more time
Sure.
would be pretty cool. To go there in '76 and watch a King and Pearson crash, and then tell my parents I was going to do it. So that's just
Can you beat 45?
Number 45.
We did get the number.
Number
Nice.
45, we put that in.
That was my first question.
Yeah, so that was
My second question is that pretty good equipment?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, they sat in the pole last year, I think, and they led
They're
most of the
okay.
race. And they had a bad pit stop at the end or something happened. But no, his speedway stuff's good. He don't run many races.
Right.
You know, he doesn't do the full circuit. He did some road course stuff, but
So here's
I'm ready.
here's some responses. Outstanding, nice, awesome, congrats, so much fun. So the good news, bad news for Rich is that I'm going to help him with his PR and marketing. So I'm going to be helping out with this, which personally, I'm looking forward to doing this with you because we've been friends for 20 years. We've always talked about what can we try to do, but it'll be fun going to Daytona.
well, you know, for a kid that had nothing, started Jefferson with a hobby stock,
Yeah.
to even think about going there,
Right.
you know, and then to do it 20 some years, well, almost 20 years later,
Right.
to do it one more time.
Right.
That's what's cool about it. It's not about, you know, I always do stuff for racing for myself because I want to race.
Right.
But I actually want to make this about for everybody else, not just about me. It's like I want to have people that were race fans back. They don't come to track no more
Mhm.
because
Right.
they're tired of it. I hope they come back to come there and you know, I got a bunch of friends in Florida that said they're going to come to the race, and just because, you know, because we're gonna go do it, and I think we're gonna be up front.
I
always
great.
say this. You think about all the guys that work for you in your career, and there's probably who knows how many, 500 maybe. You know what I mean?
At least.
Like you and I never crossed paths, but we could have at some point in time, but we didn't. But what I'm getting at is, when a driver like you, with all these wins and all this experience comes through, and then goes coming back, like guys like us, myself being a fabricator mechanic, we always think of, man, that's good for him, and I'm sure the fans, there's drivers that I work for and then there's drivers that I really didn't care for that I hate to say I could give a shit what they do, but
right.
Most of the time you guys are always, you're good to your crew guys, and I'm sure there's plenty of crew guys out there that are thinking about this and glad you're doing something.
So we're in the shop today, and he's talking to the kid working on the car, and his Rich is telling him stories that I'm looking at this kid, and he's all like wide-eyed, he's hanging on every word, and I'm like, that's cool. Like he knows who he's going to be working with in Daytona, and he knows. And Rich is giving instructions of what to do, and the kid goes over and he's writing it all down.
Right.
And I was like, that was good. He doesn't have the kid going, whatever, man. I know more than him.
Yeah.
Someone asked Mary Stevens, does that mean the show is Pub Table Racers sponsoring in some way at Daytona? Not sponsoring, Mary, but I can bet you this bucket of beer that we're going to sneak the Pub Table Racer logo somewhere.
There'll be a decal on there.
We're going to have a decal on there. So he says there's a decal on there? Yeah, we're going to have a decal on there. Which, you know what? That would be pretty cool. Speaking of something, cruising. Should we tell about an opportunity?
Well, first of all,
yeah.
What's really cool about this year is that I was racing snowmobiles up in 2012, and I sold the deal in the chassis. Like sprint cars, you drive, they have a steering wheel, gas pedal, you sit in the race seat and all that. So Bob Richard asked me if I'd come back up there and race the snowmobile one more time.
Right.
And it's supposed to be next weekend for the championship, and I said, well, I'm going to be testing at Daytona, I can't. So they got the vintage weekend this weekend, so I'm going to go up there this weekend and race snowmobiles.
Okay.
At Eagle River, which is like the Daytona 500.
Yeah,
it's
the biggest snowmobile rally in the country.
It's the Daytona 500. It's whatever the biggest race for snowmobiles there is. So, what's cool about this is my last year I can start on the snow and end at Snowball Derby.
So the Snowball's gonna be your last
race. And I've retired twice, and everybody gives me hell for retire and all that. But this is it. 45 years for 45.
That's it. Perfect.
But yeah, that's it's to think about that, to go back on the snow and end up Snowball is pretty cool stuff.
And then next January, what are we doing?
We have the cruise mark for since the early '80s at Slinger, and me and Jeff are really tight. And then Mark called me up and said, "Hey, let's have a Bickle Bon Voyage cruise." So we're having a cruise for we had 177 cabins, leaving out of Miami January 22nd of 2022 for 7 days. A couple stops in Mexico, Cozumel, and then going to Honduras.
Right.
And so we get to have the auditorium, I guess.
Yep.
And we're going to have a big
Q&A.
Q&A, but I'm sure it's going to be a pretty good thrashing on me.
It's gonna be a roast.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
roast.
Oh yeah, you're gonna
It's
get
gonna
roasted.
be a
But what's really cool on this boat has a go-kart track on it. So anybody wants to come run into me, and even if you weren't a fan that you want to run into me, come on, let's go. It's $1,400 basically, all inclusive.
Right, that's not bad.
And let's go have some fun. We sold like 50 cabins out of 177 so far.
I got one.
and then I have the people who don't have a lot of money, we have a $20 raffle, and we're going to do the raffle thing. If you need raffle tickets, get a hold of him or me.
Right.
And you got a shot to win a free cruise.
Maybe I'll try that.
And the rest of my money goes towards my mom's breast cancer fund.
Right.
So
Well, I'm on the payment plan. Don't you worry. Sell a hat and give it to the Bickle Bon Voyage to it. Yeah, that's what we got there. I think it's kind of cool that you're celebrating your final year in racing. You're making it a fun endeavor, and you can pick and choose what you want. But I think that announcing tonight here with us, we appreciate it. That you'll be doing the ARCA race
Definitely.
at Daytona. That's pretty cool. The number 45 car was Mike Cheek as crew chief, and also he runs Empire Racing Group. So it's Empire Racing, and your teammate will be Sean Core and the number 8. So we have a teammate to work with there.
yeah, and he owns the building and all the equipment.
Building equipment, so yeah.
He don't race many races, I guess, which I just found out today. But it'll be interesting.
I'm very honored to have another Wisconsin driver,
Right.
legend
Yep.
in Wisconsin, in my Mooresville studios, doing this with us. I appreciate it.
Well, it's all good. Like I said, I've always, either you love me or you hated me, but I always did stuff for the fans, like, giving all the trophies away. I made sure I stuck out and did every autograph session. I went to if you go to the book, and you'll find out how Banana cost me $8.5 million. And you can't make stuff like this up. I mean, it's beyond amazing.
That story is exclusively in the book. We're not going to go there tonight.
No, I'm just saying, but it's just, and I tell people, I said, I should have been in trouble 1,000 times in my life, but this is one of the times I really had nothing to do with it.
Right.
But the greatest story about this that people keep, probably reading the book is Mike Joy and Buddy Baker were sitting like 5 feet from me, and Buddy Baker's on top of a stool, and he's got his hand up and goes, "Bickle, you're my hero."
Right.
And you look at that, and here's one of the greatest guys that pushed the gas pedal,
Absolutely.
the hardest in the history of racing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say what you want, but Buddy Baker never left the gas pedal.
Right.
And for have him sit there, and I can visualize him. He's standing on top of the bar stool,
Right.
just rooting
Cheering
me
you
on.
on. Right.
I mean,
Not knowing.
so
That moment.
the cruise thing, there's going to be probably 150 more stories that people have no clue. I mean, down and dirty,
The good ones.
straight up,
Right.
without nothing held back.
Right.
Stories that people have no idea. Because I've got way more than, you don't even think about them until
Right.
you bring things up. It's like, oh my God, this happened. This is pretty
So
cool.
in the feed right now, Mark Rimley just posted how to get in touch with him and the how to get tickets or how to do raffle tickets. So thank you, Mark, for doing that. I couldn't squeeze it in here. So that's a great opportunity for everyone to jump on and say, hey, let's have one last run with Rich.
It will be one hell of a party. It'll be a good
We're gonna
roast,
put that on our.
Yep.
Okay.
and it's just going to be a good time. And
I think I broke my pinky tonight.
uh-oh.
What? What'd you do? Working?
Yeah, I was at Penske. It's been bothering me a little bit. I smashed it.
Hide in the ice.
That's it. Put it on the beer.
Oh, I'm putting beer on it.
There you go. We don't need a doctor here. So you're starting off with the ARCA race at Daytona, which we just announced, and then the following week you just found out you're going to.
Well, we were going to Cordell, and they just canceled it for the watermelon race. No,
What state was that in?
Georgia.
So now it's in.
Now it's in St. Pete, and I still think I own the St. Pete from
Sunshine?
1987.
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm not sure we're going to go there and run that race because our stuff's really good right now, and it's a really tight, small racetrack, and I'm not sure I want to go up there and get tore up.
Yeah.
Because but we got a lot of time. But we got like 7 cars we're trying to finish up for the season, and
Right.
we'll see. We'll make our mind up. Me and Tony talked this afternoon. We'll make our mind up.
So here's how I'm looking at it. So the Super Bowl is February 7th in Tampa. So when the
Green Bay against who?
when the Bills play the I'll skip the parade in Buffalo. I'll just stay down there because then we have Daytona the following week, and then after that we have Sunshine.
if we
So
were-
I literally
2 weeks
play
in
my
Florida.
cards.
I could possibly be in Daytona with you.
I was going to say if you want to come to.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I won't speculate.
Could imagine doing a show down there.
It would be big.
Oh
It'd
my
be
gosh.
nice.
We'll find a bar. You think they'll take us in there?
I think
I think we
a
can.
couple that might.
I think we can work something out. A little something on the
Well,
water.
yeah.
Hey, on the deck down under, try the oyster. Ocean deck would be too crazy. We couldn't do one there.
Cut the smoke.
Oh yeah, it's like part the curtain. Oh, that's just the smoke. Yeah. Rich is an awesome guy and the best mentor my son could have. That's Bill Holbert. Yeah.
Well, Bill's helped us a lot this year, and Tony did the car for Grundy for a weekly show with his son, and they raced and they won.
Good.
And yeah, it's just my guys. I got 3 guys there, and they worked their tails off. And they ain't got $5, and we just
For the fun.
we try to they're working hard. And the biggest thing for me is when I'm done this year, I want to have some really great equipment for these guys to keep going and get a rental program.
Right.
And so that's what's going to keep them guys going. I mean, when I move away, I'm moving away.
Yeah.
And I want these guys to succeed and to really have, we've been fast. We got some really good stuff. We're building more stuff. But I want them to have a top 5 car everywhere they go.
Good.
And to be able to have a great rental program. and to be able to take it and keep going.
You know what I always said is like when I'm done with this, I would go get a guy like Rich,
Right.
and I would make him drive,
Right.
even if it was 2 or 3 races,
Mm-hmm.
a month,
Right.
and then you have a rental.
Right.
So
Young kid.
a
young
young kid
driver.
with dad
Teams
with
up.
unlimited funds, so Rich can show that it's not the car is badass,
Right.
and plus his experience. Then you get the kid
Mental,
and you
yeah.
give the kid Rich's setup,
Right.
and if the kid can't do it, then you say, "I'm sorry, sir,
Yeah.
but your kid
That was
not a
bad.
race car driver."
Well, and you're not expecting to be, but you got to at least be somewhat close.
They're not going to be you. Like I said, I go back to the laps at Slinger, right?
Well, anywhere. I mean,
Right.
like I said, how many people race that many racetracks?
Right.
And one other cool thing this year is when we win, it's going to be really cool because I got something special planned because I know we're going to win this year.
Okay.
And when
Not
we
yet,
do,
folks. He said when.
when we do,
Right.
I'm going to get out of that car, and that's going to be a really special trophy because that'll be the only trophies I believe in the history of short track asphalt late model racing that somebody's won in 5 decades.
Oh, I know what you're
Perfect.
talking about. Yeah. Perfect.
So I want to ask you this: has anybody ever asked you to be their son's driver coach?
No.
wow.
Really?
Really?
Nah.
So that to me kind of stuns me. You know what I mean? Like,
Nobody's ever come up and said, "Hey, I'll,"
Hey.
hey, mentor my son.
Right.
and I probably wouldn't be very good at it.
You don't think?
No, it ain't
That's
that.
because-
It's because
Why don't you think that?
I don't.
Would you be too hard on him?
Yeah.
But that's what we're all. Well,
That's
that's what we
not
know.
fair.
That's what we know. Guys like me and you. That's all we know.
It's this way.
Right.
If you don't this way, in a car nowadays, you have this much room. You
Yeah.
have this much is the line is not this much. And if I tell you you have to be here, and you go out there and you're not there, 30 laps in a row, I would walk away because okay, I've tried and tried and tried, and
Right.
and I probably wouldn't be very good at it because and maybe I'd be great at it. I don't know, but I'm not very politically correct, and it's either right or wrong. And if you're not right, then I'm telling you wrong. And if you don't listen, but
Right.
but that's okay. I don't want to be at the racetrack tomorrow anyway after this year.
So to me, like, I think young drivers miss out on
Getting the knowledge.
getting
and
the
resources,
knowledge
right.
from these older drivers and
The video game taught him everything.
from natural talent. And what Rich is saying, went around Slinger and painted a line with a white spray bomb
Right.
and said keep your left front tire on this line
Mhm.
and lift here and
Right.
gas here and you'll be a half a second faster.
Right.
And if the kid doesn't do that and doesn't want to do that and won't do that, then he would say, well,
Yeah.
you're no good.
Well, I mean,
don't listen to me.
there's a lot of people out there who'll just sit there and take their money
Right.
and
Well,
don't
yeah.
care. The problem is I care too much, and I would say either you can cut or you can't, and I would probably lose 90% of them probably can't. And
So Jason Langley says, "Hey Rich, give me a call 1010-345." That was one of your sponsors.
yeah,
Um,
one had the cup race one loud in that year, and I got told if I don't pull down pit road, I'm fired. And the worst thing I ever did in my career, I pulled down pit road, and to this day, there's one person out there that's still going to get the wrath of this.
Who is it?
Chad Canals.
Chad Canals was your crew chief. Told you to pit.
Yeah, because they knew they wanted Benson in the car, and they knew if I won that race that AT&T was going to not let it happen.
Right.
Well, they didn't realize they already weren't going to let it happen,
Got it.
and they yanked the deal for me, and then AT&T yanked the deal from Beverly and lost the deal because they were. I mean, I did national TV commercials for them, and it liked me a lot,
Mhm.
and it's just amazing how things go. That's one of the few times that things backfire, but
Right.
it is what it is.
Real quick, 'cause we're getting to the end. Martinsville, you finished fourth, your best finish ever, and you get out and you gave such an emotional, incredible, raw, pure interview. And I've told you many times that was the day I became a Rich Bickle fan because you got it. You didn't take anything for granted. You knew it was a great opportunity. It was a great run.
Well, what sucks is that day is that KO was so cheap. that we used brake pads. And I would drive from 9th after we pitted, drive to 2nd, and come in pit, and I'd go back out 9th and come to 2nd. The only car that passed all day was Ricky Rudd.
And he won.
And he won the race. Well, we finally pitted and we come out 6th, and I go, I can win now. And I got to 2nd or 3rd. No, I got to 4th, and I ran into brake pads. And I was steal to steal for 60 laps, and Dale Jarrett was behind me, and he couldn't pass me. And it's like, my God, we couldn't even afford brake pads. And I could have won that race. And what's funny about it is, it's 5 degrees out,
Right.
and Ricky Rudd gets out, he falls out of the
Yeah,
car,
he's done.
he's laying on the ground with oxygen, and I was like, hell, give me a beer.
Well, what was your conditioning the night before the race, anyhow?
A beer.
Yeah.
Several.
He was out? Yeah. That's fine.
Well, we talked about this sort of thing. I said in 1990 I ran 130 some races.
Right.
I said the race part I said was drinking after the races at the bar,
Right.
and then going to the parking lot till
Parking lot,
daylight.
right.
And people don't understand that.
But that's
what we
what
did.
camaraderie.
That was the Midwest.
It was
The
the
Midwest series was the Midwest
yeah.
series.
That was the hardest thing to do is to be able to. But you didn't wreck stuff because you didn't have time to fix it. So you had fun with people, and you raced hard, and you drank, and you had fun. The race part was.
Well, Lancaster Speedway in Buffalo, where I started as an announcer.
You know what?
After the races,
we
we all
never
went in.
fought. I never got into a fight up north.
There was a couple, but very, very seldom. The one thing I didn't like in 1985, Tom Refter would come to Madison at dog time every other week. You start the pole or the first 2 rows, you get it down pat. You'd be long gone. Time you get to second, he's half lap ahead and you wins the race. But then the next week you had to start behind fast qualifier. So, make long story short, Bob Smells was the pit gate for all the racetracks all these years, and I went there and I put 100 pounds of dog food next to Bob, and I said, Bob, can you watch this for me? He looks at me and goes, oh, this is going to be pretty good. So when Tom pulled in his open trailer, I dumped 100 pounds in his seat, and Guiley's and me were all swinging and fighting, and it was on, but it was really cool this year when they had Trickle Memorial.
Right.
I ended up buying Trickle's door off a 72 Mustang that won for a lot of money, and Tom was there, and Tom really helped this whole program.
Okay,
And me and Tom made peace.
That's good.
But here's one thing people have no idea. Tom Refner, Dick Trickle, Mark Marzofka grew up in the same town, Rudolph, Wisconsin, of about 300 people. And Jim Bach grew up 4 or 5 miles down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Them 4 guys won 2,500 features.
Right. 4 guys.
4 guys.
Little town.
Throughout the whole Midwest.
Right.
From they didn't know nothing. They taught themselves and learned.
And the South.
Then they travel.
Right.
Jim Bach didn't travel. Marv quit in '82, real early. But them, that'll never be duplicated in the history of the world. The world. So, so to make amends with Tom was pretty cool this year. And now he follows me on her Facebook page, which is hilarious because he likes, and it's just, it is what it is. We never fought, but I made it prove my point. I was a 24-year-old kid, and I'm sick of chasing. One of the greatest in history. One of the greatest in history.
Right.
Tom, you're better than this. You don't have to start up front.
Right.
You're still probably going to win anyway.
Right.
But it's every other week, I got mad about it.
Jack Ely says, you can always tell great racers, they never talk about money. Tony, glad you're still active spreading your knowledge, so that's a nice little...
Thanks, Jack.
There you go.
Big Jack.
Great show. So, what has kept you motivated all these years to keep racing? What's the one big thing? I know it's not money, because you never raced for money a day in your life.
Kissing that trophy girl. He said it when he was 7. He seen that guy.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's.
We all like to notice the
love
draws,
of driving.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do it, and I knew I was hooked before I ever did it, but it's just knowing that I want to win every race.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be 60. And last year when I got in that car, I didn't think that I wasn't not going to win every race. I can remember when Trickle got the end of his rope there, and I was lapping him at Slinger, and he wrecked me on purpose. I'm leading Slinger Nationals, and he wrecked me. And the year before he did his deal, I grabbed him in the motorhome, and I said, come with me. And we sat in the truck in the motorhome, we drank a beer, and we talked. And I said, hey, I want to thank you for all the years, everything you did for me. And I said, now I know that you did this on purpose that night. And he kind of looked at me, and I said, Dick, I said, I get it. I said, do you get that point in your life where you're not the man no more? It's hard to accept.
Right.
And I was like, okay. I said, I don't want to be there. If I don't think I can get in and win every night, and I went through the COVID,
Right.
and I still think right now I'm as good as I was when I was 25.
Perfect.
So I want to keep doing it, and I'm going to do it for one more year, and we're going to run 50 races, and I want to win 50 races.
Race against, and he's pretty damn good.
Damn good. I ran second in lacrosse.
Right. Is that kind of like? Is that how you feel? How is Ty to you like you were to Dick, to Trickle? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I think Ty's he's got a lot of talent. you
No,
know?
he's good. There's no doubt. He's won everything there is right now, and it's like I'm chasing myself 25 years later.
Okay. So you
know,
you
see
feel like
yourself.
that's you.
So, but I like it because it gives me that drive to go on. Because there's only one more to get, and I'm right there, biting in that tail.
Does he respect you?
I don't.
Do you talk?
No. I
See, I don't get that, because I would be like,
I congratulated him at lacrosse, and I said if I wouldn't have picked the wrong lane, I'd have beat your ass today.
so he's scared of you.
No, he's scared of me. I don't.
To me, it would be. I would be like,
Hey, help! Show me. Tell me.
or at least no, I would want to. I mean, this guy's a Wisconsin legend.
Legend. Totally. Look at the response.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And if I'm Ty coming up, like, you know, even if you want to move on and
I hope he does.
Yeah.
you know, I would still be so respectful to this man.
Right.
Oh, he's respectful, but we don't talk. The new generation don't talk like we don't. Joe drink beer. We don't. You know.
Well,
no, his crew chief. You know.
I know. Yeah. Now I know what you're saying.
They text
You
each
just say,
other.
yeah, thank you.
The text
Good
each other.
place.
You know, and it's like they made a big deal of him this year. He won his 100th feature. I go, well, shit, you got 400 more to get. So don't think you're that good yet. You know, he's good. He's really good. He's really good. But you know, they got their act together.
He's more respectful.
It's taken us, no, not saying that. But it's taken us 3 years to get to where, you know, from this new program to get these new cars, and we're there. We're biting on that tail.
Right.
And I think next year they're going to be chasing me.
It's good.
I even said it online. I said, I'm not chasing them next year. You guys are going to chase me again.
With that said, we announced that you're running the ARCA race in Daytona. We end up in Victory Lane. Do you picture that?
I mean, why not, though?
You thought about. You
You're
said
asking him that.
Yeah.
I'm saying, why not?
Hell, I don't know where it's at.
You'll find it. Don't worry. I'll be there going.
No, not really.
Hey,
I mean, I'm not going there to run second.
Well, if I'm there, double down.
You know,
Dickhead.
never. I ain't thought about that.
no. Okay.
I just signed a contract.
Yeah, I saw.
But that would be really cool.
Right.
That would be what 44 years after I've been there.
Right, it would be icing, cake.
Yeah.
Drop the mic. Give me a beer. Whew, boy.
You know,
That's the whole pity the ocean back then, man.
it just like the deal at Loudon had the race one there and got. I did it to myself. I should have. Even when the NASCAR official said, I heard you fired. I go, I haven't told me yet, but I'm pretty sure.
No.
And I was dumb. I was so too dumb. I pulled down pit road with 14 laps to go. I mean, Andretti and Stewart were long checked out, but we had it beat out gas mileage.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter.
Right.
You win, you win.
Right.
You know, we were a 20th place team, and we should have won. We should have won that year at Pocono if I had any motor at all. Steve Park said if I had his motor in the car on the lap of the
Right.
field, we talked about that tonight.
Yep.
The car was so ungodly fast, but it had no motor. We kept blowing up every happy hour. I never got to run a happy hour all season long because every time we happy hour, I go out and blow up after two laps.
Quick going.
And it's like Claude Queen built the motors, and I don't suck every intake valve off every. So, make a long story short, they would detune the motor so much to make them live.
Right.
It was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and
Ryan Newman said it once at Pocono while I was on his team. He said, "This thing's like a vacuum." That was the best motor line I've ever heard.
Wow, that's
it's like I'm on a vacuum cleaner with a full bag.
Not working.
That
Okay,
one's all right.
Okay, we're good. All right, we want to thank you very much for coming on tonight.
Yes, sir.
It has been seriously, it's been an honor. Cheers to you. Look forward to everything else you have going on this year. Ladies and gentlemen, Rich Bickle, thanks for all you do.
Jesus, I'm done.
Yes, no, it's your turn. Thanks for you to coming on and all the things you got coming up. And obviously your fans are out there and they're excited to see what you have going on. And so sorry about the little break. We're going to splice it together. We'll put it on our YouTube channel. And be sure to check our website for the announcement and everything. But thank you very much. And Rich, and should we say it?
Yes.
Good night, Dick.
Good night, Dick.
Good night, Dick. Okay, so there you go. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Wow. Hey, another great show.
Great show.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning
Enjoyed
in.
it.
We appreciate it. We do this every Tuesday night, and Warren, I think the guests we've had have been fantastic.
Phenomenal.
And the people that are following us, we appreciate it. We're reaching 42,000 people a month. Can you believe that? And we appreciate you watching. And
We're having fun. Hope everybody else enjoys it.
that's it. And it's just a fun show. Bucket of beer, guys sitting around talking about it. So keep tuning in. We appreciate it. Check out our store and everything. But we appreciate you people, and we will see you next week, right, my friend?
Yes, sir.
All right. See you next week.